Hello, my name's John Ungerleider. I'm a professor at S.I.T. Graduate Institute, and two of my favorite humans and peace builders, Susie Bellici and Jan Passion, asked me to do this presentation for you on the rehumanization work that we do in our youth empowerment and peace building programs here at S.I.T. in Vermont. So I want to make this point that rehumanization, which is a response to the dehumanization that often happens between enemies in conflict, for teenagers, it's really just a humanization process. This is maybe the first time they're really discovering other people in a deeper way and discovering themselves. And I want to emphasize how we do that in a holistic way at all levels, the mind, heart, and body. And so if you look in here, you can see when we think about working at the mind level, intellectual, overcoming fears and stereotypes. And we do that through dialogue and a number of other ways I'll show you in this presentation. At the heart level, building trust, building familiarity through social activities, games, team building, and so on. And then at the body level, or metaphorically, but also literally the body, learning communication and collaborative problem solving. Again, doing games, problem solving activities, and analyzing social issues, and then doing projects. So these approaches overlap, and I'm going to focus on three methods in particular in this presentation: dialogue to develop expression and understanding of the other, music, and we'll do a few songs, so be ready to sing, to develop community and connection between young people in these programs, and then team building to develop action skills. So our youth peace building and leadership programs here at S.I.T. have been going on now for, actually this is the 25th year, and at least for the last 20 years we've had young people coming from all over the world to do dialogue about conflicts that are happening in their countries, in their regions. And these are some of the countries. We started with Cyprus, Northern Ireland, a lot of countries from the Middle East, you can see, and now countries from all over the world. And it's very inspiring to work with these young people. Now, before I show you pictures of them, the basic model of youth empowerment we're working with was from a colleague of mine in graduate school named Ange de Benedetto. And again, you can see how it works at the body, the mind, and the heart. So for the mind is this idea of intellectual challenge. Education, of course, is information, but also the ability to analyze that information and then to express it. We talk about the development of voice for young people. And sometimes schools only have intellectual challenge, or not, and sometimes working with young people, they only do emotional nurturance, working at the heart level, supporting young people to make them feel safe, appreciated even if for themselves, even if they're different. Diversity is very important in that, and feeling safe to express themselves. But it doesn't have to be either or. Young people like to be intellectually challenged, and they need to be emotionally supported. Then this is the most complicated or maybe controversial one. What does it mean to have shared power for a young person? Adults do have more of the power. They have the legal power, and we have the responsibility. But young people can feel that it's not an authoritarian environment, that they can take action, they can test and exercise their ability to feel empowered. So this idea of youth empowerment is key to how we make young people feel good about themselves and feel good about each other, and how they're working together in this process of rehumanization. Now here you can see intellectual challenge. As I said, young people problem solving, here doing an international simulation. Emotional nurturance, sitting together, doing activities together, playing music together, and shared power. In this case, marching in our local 4th of July parade and demonstrating about issues that they care about. Now, these are the components of our youth peace building and leadership programs, and we're not going to go into all of them. We'll just focus on the dialogue, team building, and especially the intercultural activities. But if you want to study this later, you can take a look at that. So we start with the body, very much with teenagers. Team building, it says here, starts on the first day. Lots of games, lots of icebreakers, lots of problem-solving, group activities, and people really learn to work together and include everybody in solving the problems. This is a great, very challenging game called Helium Stick. If you take a very light stick or a hula hoop and try to hold it with one finger and put it on the ground with a group of people, try it sometime and see what happens. It's harder than it sounds. Now, at the intellectual level, the center of these programs are the dialogue groups, the dialogue process. Young people, whether they're from conflict zones or in conflict with each other, we do dialogue so they can really deeply begin to understand each other and each other's point of view. And it's a very structured process, building first on similarities and differences, which is somewhat easy to explore, a low-risk activity, moving into more challenging and higher risk emotionally just topics and activities, focusing then on stereotypes. What are they? How do we overcome them by getting to know each other? And then looking more deeply at personal stories and histories, especially of conflict, and how young people and their families may have been affected by conflict in their countries. And finally moving on to a forward orientation and exploring hopes and even ways that they can stay in touch and maybe even take action on issues they care about together. This is an example of dialogue where we're not just sitting around and talking, but students do an activity where they explore different perspectives on history. In this case, Cyprus, the Turkish and the Greek side of the islands really have a completely different historical memory of the way that conflict works. And in this history walk, they compare those two perspectives. And then, having established a culture of inquiry in our dialogue groups, instead of arguing about which side is true, they ask each other about how they learned about each side's history and come to a deeper mutual understanding, hopefully to move forward. And it's important to remember, at the intellectual side of this work, we don't just look at the conflict, which wasn't created by these young people, but also the youth issues. And it's important for them. Here we say gender issues, drug abuse, education. We say teenagers in this country are interested in rock and roll, and we talk about that too. So it's not just conflict, but issues that they care about. Now, when I say rock and roll, we tend to use more of American-style folk music in the programs as a way to build community, and we do singing together. So I thought I'd make you do a little singing with us there at home and give you an example, briefly, of the kind of songs we do. Now, this one is interactive, so we'll see if you're awake. So repeat after me. Sailing up, sailing down. Good. Now, the challenging part, you have to do the opposite. Up, down, down, up. Okay, try it again. See if you can get it. Up. Okay, so that's how this song goes. And I'll sing one verse where it's also about diversity. So it's a song that was written about cleaning up the Hudson River, which they did successfully, that goes into New York City. And it's also about the race relations issues down in New York, back from the 1970s and 80s in the United States. Sailing up, sailing down, up, down, up and down the river, sailing on, stopping all along the way. The river may be dirty now, but it's getting cleaner every day. Some are black, some are white, black, Way up and down the river, sailing on, stopping all along the way. The river may be dirty now, but it's getting cleaner every day. So that's an example of that kind of song which students love to do, gets them very engaged. Their favorite song is this one about Vermont. It goes like this. Vermont, 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 Vermont. Now repeat after me. Vermont, 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 Vermont. Something about these mountains and trees help me know the meaning of peace. Vermont, 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 Vermont. Vermont, 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 Vermont. So you'll see videos of kids singing this months after the program in Iraq and in Libya, in Burma. So it's a silly little song, but they love it. But the last one I want to share with you, it shows is, and I'll just sing one verse, is about the deeper capacities for peace that we have inside ourselves. And to express that together is powerful for students. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. And the other verses are strength like a mountain, joy like the sunshine, determination, really getting in touch with these very human capacities we have for peace building and social change. So young people also play music, and here's a slide of the talent night we have where they are able to share songs from their cultures, and there's a very wonderful picture here of Arab and Kurdish boys who, as you know, often don't get along inside Iraq, singing and performing together. So a very important moment of finding unity in song. Art is not just music, but visual art is also a way that young people can use to work collaboratively and express common visions. Now, they engage their bodies again, not just team building, but then doing action projects, which they can do here in the community or develop them to do them back at home again. This combination of mind, heart, and body gets young people feeling really connected, and here they are, tears and hugs, sad to part from each other on the final morning. Hopefully they get to see each other again at home, but if not, whether they do or not, they still are so connected and crying together. A good sign. So let me just go a little more deeply about what we mean by empowerment. What capacities are these young people gaining? And they're all, as you see, very humanizing capacities. And working from the inside to the out, from the very personal, confidence, communication, moving into culture and community, cross-cultural, empathy and support, and then out into social issues, critical understanding, commitment, and collaborative capacities for shared leadership. So we'll take a look at each one. Confidence and self-esteem, so important for young people learning to be leaders and to be able to take action about social change. And you can see it here. It's individual, but it's also collective, feeling as a team they can do something. Communication skills, authentic listening, active listening, authentic expression, verbal and nonverbal communication, respecting each other, wanting to hear from each other, and being able to openly express what they care about. But not just interpersonally, also cross-culturally, learning about different cultures and caring for each other across cultures, feeling empathy. Creating together a community of caring, of support, and you can see these images. This is just so essential for healthy development of teenagers and really important for any human being. Critical understanding of current issues, an important part. not just be able to accept what they hear, but to be able to analyze issues critically, think about it, and think about how they can do something, taking action. Feeling committed to social action is another important part of it, and that's something really that they do to support each other. This group of young people in Vermont actually wrote legislation so the state of Vermont cannot buy apparel, clothing that are made in sweatshops. They wrote the legislation, they lobbied for it, and there they are celebrating on the steps of the State House the successful passing of their legislation. Collaborative capacities for shared leadership. Working together and being able to develop plans for action projects. Whether they can do them at their young age or not, they've learned how to do it. And I love this picture of an Iraqi young woman who's making the presentation for her group while all the men look on. And of course, we're going to see so much more leadership from young women in the world. And a part of this process of rehumanization, respecting each other despite gender differences, and trying to see the full humanity of each other, whether we're boys or girls, men or women. So by the end of this program, they've become friends, they've become peace builders, and let's review what that means. They've learned to see each other in new ways. The mind was challenged, they overcame the stereotypes, their intellect was really engaged with each other, with social problems. Emotional nurturance, the heart. They've created so many circles of inclusion. Circles are so important, and you can see it here, how engaged they are, talking about each other, talking about issues, and feeling included and supported. And discovering unity. In the sense, creating a common body of a collective where they share power and from all around the world feel empowered and feel that they can work together with respect and collaboration. So, hopefully, within these programs, and certainly by the end, young people feel more human, fully human, connected to each other, finding a way to create a culture of peace, and you could say, being peace in a very collaborative way together. Thank you for listening, and good luck with all your peace work.